All right, now we're going to attempt to do the Toy Story logo, and this is the one I redid. Now notice it's not perfect, the shading, the shadowing. This was probably done in a real 3D app, but we're going to be doing it in Illustrator and faking it till we making it. All right, so let's get to it. File, New, go ahead and hit Create, File, Place, and we'll go ahead and place the Toy Story logo. And we'll scale it down with E. Put it up here. Make sure to hold Shift. Okay, cool. So where do we start? Well, I think the easiest thing is to start with this red box right here. So let's go ahead and grab the pen tool. We'll zoom in and we'll trace that out. Cool. And then we just select it, change the color to some red, or we could even sample that red back there. We can do that later though, and we'll have a stroke on it. And while we're at it, let's go to the layer panel and lock our Toy Story layer so it doesn't move on us. All right, cool. And then we'll trace out the toy so we can hide our red box there. And we'll just get to tracing out this toy right here. Same thing, pen tool. Since there's not a font that really matches this, and it's okay to just trace it out, and it won't take long. Again, I'll change the appearance here, take the opacity down so I can see exactly where I'm supposed to click next. Okay, and then we'll do the Y. Again, I'll take the opacity down. We're going to guesstimate where this Y ends right here. Based on this, something like that should be fine. Okay, and then for the O, we'll go ahead and use our ellipse tool. So we can drag that out. We can hold the space bar to move it around, and then we can shift to proportionally scale. And we can get it pretty darn close that way. And then of course we'll have to cut out the center. So we'll need another O. But let's change the opacity so we can see. There we go. Okay, pretty easy there. We'll just draw another circle here. And we'll scale it way down, I think. We'll downshift. Something like that. Okay, so we need to cut a hole in this. So if we select both of them, go to the Shape tool, Alt, click right there, and there we go. Okay, we can bring the opacity of all these back. We're going to want to rearrange them where they're at because we want the T over the O and the O over the Y, which we didn't create them in that order, so of course we'll need to move them around. Luckily we can kind of see what we've got here. So the O is on top, and we just want the O on top of the Y, and we want the T on top of them all, like that. Now let's go back to our appearance panel, and let's change the opacity of all of them so we don't have to do that later. Go to the Y, change that opacity, and of course we need to add a stroke and we need to make them 3D, but let's go ahead and just continue making the basic shapes first, and then we'll work on appearances. Although, let's get this sampled. Now that I think about it, I want that color already sampled for all of these. Okay, so what we want to do is add that blue stroke that's behind here. So we move this over. We can sample this blue, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but one thing that happens is when you sample colors, so this yellow we've been sampling, that's the one we've been sampling, and then this blue is the one we just sampled. So it puts recent colors that we've been sampling down here. So now we can go over to the stroke, make sure we pick that blue, and then go over here and make sure we pick that yellow. And now we have it going on. Of course we need to increase the stroke here by quite a bit. That looks about right. We can always tweak it later. But now when we select this, we can sample this object right here, and very quickly we can get that same look. Okay, so it's looking okay. For story right here, instead of tracing these out, you most certainly could. What I'm going to do is try to fake it with another font. So I'm going to select my font tool, click here, type out story in all caps, and then try my best to match that font. Of course, I will scale up first, and we'll just kind of get close and see. So this is where we want to find a font that's similar. I'll use my select tool, select that font, come over here to my font box, and what you can do is look through here and try to find something close. I'm going to use Azo Sans Black right here, and then just try my best to scale it exactly into place. I'm not going to even use proportional scale. You can tell I need to change my tracking here a little bit, so I'm probably going to extend the tracking a little bit, which we've done before. If we just come over here, we can increase the tracking like so. And again, I'm not going to try to get this perfect. I just want to somewhat match it, and I'll scale that out like so. Again, you could try to trace it and match it, but without the reference, people won't really know that you didn't get it perfectly. And then of course we will change our fill color to yellow like so. And now, before we do all of our 3D stuff, what I'd like to do is take care of the background and the clouds, and then we'll do the 3D on our object here. So what we're going to do is create a box about this size. Go ahead and go to our rectangle tool, draw out a box, and we'll move it down. And then what we're going to do is sample these colors right here and try to create a bit of a gradient, kind of like they had here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add a gradient, or if we just go over here to our gradient tool here, we can put a gradient on there, and then we'll change these colors to match over here. So I can click here, sample in this corner that blue, click here, sample this dark over here. We kind of get a very similar looking gradient. And then let's build these clouds out. I'm going to lock this layer so we don't accidentally select it. Go to layers, I've got this right here, I can lock it. And we probably should create a different layer to keep everything a little bit more organized. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll call this new, and we'll take our background here and throw it into new, and then we want to take all the stuff we've just built in 3D and throw it into new over here. And then of course we'll be moving all of that stuff down in a second. But let's go ahead and try building one of these clouds out. It's kind of fun exercise. I'm not going to get it perfect, but we can have some fun with it. So I'll use the pen tool as per usual, and I'll just kind of drag this out and see if I can't make a cool little cloud, much like this. Told you the pen tool was super useful, and it really is. And it just takes practice, so I'm giving you guys tons of opportunities to practice. Again, I'll change the appearance here and change the opacity down so I can kind of get my trace a little bit better. I'll come back over here, then Alt, so I can restart that curve. Alt again, restart that curve, and take it back around. Again, you could tweak this shape quite a bit. As far as the color for this shape, we're going to want to sample this dark part of the cloud. So let's go ahead and do that. First, let's select it. Then we will select our sample tool and grab the dark part of the cloud. There we go. Now it looks like it's perfect, but it's not. We have our opacity down there. So let's take our opacity up. Okay, cool. So what we could do is fix these, again, as I've always said, depending on how good of an artist you are or how much you want to get good at this, you want to spend extra time really making things perfect. However, that's not everybody, so we'll just kind of call that. Now I need to change the appearance again, take it down, so that what I can do is now add the highlights with the pen tool. So I need to see where the highlights are. How we can do that is we can just draw out these shapes right here with the pen tool, maybe, and then we can add a blur to them. So let's go ahead and try that. So I'll just kind of do a little bit of a shape here. We'll alt drag there. This doesn't have to actually be perfect at all because we're going to blur it, but we'll just kind of try to make it somewhat good. All right, it looks terrible, but don't worry about it. Let's just keep going. Okay, and all we're doing is just the highlights here. Again, don't have to get it perfect, so don't worry. We are going to blur the crap out of this. It's going to look awesome, I promise. And if it doesn't, you can sue me for it not being awesome. All right, Something like that. Oh. And I think it goes this way, maybe. Something like that. Obviously, I'm just kind of guessing at this point. But it'll be good enough, I promise. Watch, I'll even show you. We'll zoom out here and we'll sample this color right here roughly for it. So we'll just take this color, call it good. Now, I know that looks great, doesn't it? And then we'll select this other shape we made. Maybe we'll fix it, the A key, go in and, because you know, that was driving me crazy how bad that looks. All right, now we can go ahead and sample this color right here. Again, it looks nothing like it, but when we blur, it's gonna look pretty close. So let's select those two things. We'll go Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And as you can see, it works pretty good. I'll leave it at 7. You can mess around with it, hit OK. Again, we need to change the opacity of all this stuff, take it all the way back up. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll see kind of what we're really dealing with. And we'll want to take these shapes as well and mess with their opacity, although it looks like it's all the way up. So when we zoom out, does it look kind of like it? A little bit. It's not perfect. In fact, I think we should probably select a brighter color here. Maybe we'll sample this brighter color and see if that will get us closer to what we're going for. And it does. Okay. So it looks pretty good. It's not perfect. It's not perfectly matched. You could probably play around with the color tones and get it even closer. It really depends on how much of a perfectionist you are, which I have been known to be. So now you can take all of these shapes right here, all 3 of them, and we can Control G to group them. What I like to do is definitely keep organized, name it clouds. So we should have a group right here, and that will be our clouds. So we'll call it clouds, or cloud, as it were. Okay. And then we can just grab the whole thing and move it around. So now we'll just Alt drag this around. And you could do a simpler one like they did right here, but I'm just going to scale some of these. So I'll drag a couple more of them around and just scale them down. And hit the E key, scale them. I probably should have scaled then Alt dragged, but whatever. This just lets you practice with the E hotkey a little more. And very, very easily we've recreated the clouds. So just like that. All right, but now the moment you've all been waiting for, we need to go all 3D up in this place. So let's get going with it. First, we want to grab all of our Toy Story stuff. Let's go grab that Toy Story here, and let's drag it all down, all of it. We'll hit the Shift key and grab them all at once, if it lets us. Oh, I had that turned off. That's probably why I can't grab it. And let's move all these down. Apparently I grabbed the background as well. This is why I was supposed to have locked this and then I didn't lock it because reasons. But there we go. Okay, cool. It looks great, doesn't it? Obviously we need all of our Toy Story stuff right here. We'll Shift grab all this. We need to move it up above our clouds, or we could have moved our clouds below it. But either way, we need to move up there. Looks like I only grabbed the Toy Story section. Again, I'm going to lock that. I want to move all this stuff up above all the clouds like it's floating. There it is. Okay, now we get to the fun 3 parts. So try to pay attention. There's a lot of little things we can tweak and that could go wrong here. But hey, we're having fun. Hopefully we're having fun. So I'll start with this red box right here. Let's make it 3D. Again, Effect, 3D Materials, Extrude and Bevel. Hit that Extrude button. And doesn't look like anything changes. Is this even working? Maybe I didn't have this selected. I can't remember. We'll hit Extrude again. There it is. Okay, it's been selected. Now, we need to change the rotation of it, so we got to come down here. You can also say instead of off-axis front, you could just go to front. Boom. And it is a 3D object, and we know that because we can move it around, okay? But we want it pretty much straight up. We want it to cast shadows. So if we go over to lighting here, we should be able to turn shadows on like so. Obviously our shadow direction is all wrong, but you can mess around with these settings. Just play around with it. We want it something like this, but obviously not as intense. But obviously we want to change where it's, where it's going. So we could change the shadow bounds here. Change the distance from object, below object. Mess around with the settings. I'm dying here. I don't know, just have fun with it. But seriously, let's mess with all these until we can get it right. That's your goal. Don't follow what I do, just make it look correct, okay? Whatever it takes. Looks like minus 90 there. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get this perfectly no matter what I do. So I may want to change kind of the direction. Just leave it on diffuse for right now. Won't worry about that. I really want to worry about these shapes right here. So I want to select all of these and see if we can bevel them all at the same time. Let's go to Object, hit Extrude. It's kind of cool, fairly close to what we want, but we're going to have to bevel them. And then we'll want to change some of the settings on the bevel here. Let's go with a much lower width, like 3% or something. And then we'll go change our height maybe a little bit more, like 60%. And then we need to rotate these to match. So something more like that. Cool. Again, not going to be perfect, but we're just having fun with it. Hopefully you're having fun. And we're just pushing a lot of buttons and making an abomination. That'd be fun too. But let's go over to lighting here. We want to turn on shadows. That's a lot of shadow right there, like an intense amount. So maybe we'll crank this down. And there doesn't seem to be a soft shadow thing. Well, what I'd like is softer shadows, like, you know, in the real thing. So we could try cranking the intensity down, but that actually changes the color of our object. Let's hit diffuse here. That's not going to do it for us. We'll go back to standard. Softness maybe? I like how the softness does nothing. All right, this is quite the train wreck, isn't it? Let's turn off shadows and see if we can achieve a better effect here. So does the softness work with the shadows off? Does nothing. Literally nothing. Worthless. Guess we're not going to get it perfect, you know? We tried. We definitely tried here. Well, mess around with these settings. Make it look the best you can. Obviously, these are terrible looking shadows. They give us no control. And that's the difference between a good 3D app and Illustrator, all right? Illustrator's just not going to do it for us. But we tried. So, again, I'll turn off shadows. That looks terrible. If you just turn in something that looks halfway decent, I'll forgive the shadows. All right, let's go to this story, and we'll go to Object and Extrude. And we need to change the rotation. Let's put a bevel on it and change it down quite a bit. Just give it a little bit of a rounded edge there. And we'll rotate this quite a bit down here. Just gonna have to eyeball it, get it as close as we can. All right. I'll zoom out and you'll see it's not quite as good as the real thing. Really, it deals with this lighting and how it renders. It's just not going to give us an amazing effect of that soft shadow. And that's because it's not really a 3D app. So we're just faking it. Like I said in the beginning, faking it till we making it. All right. So if you just give me this, you create your own clouds and background. You do a basic 3D shape. We'll call it good. All right. In what was probably my worst tutorial, let's end on that note and never do it again. I'll see you in the next one.